Exotics can make builds in Destiny 2 do some of the most insane things, from blowing up rooms of enemies to providing infinite health or invisibility. But for every great exotic build in the game, there's also a load of bad ones, just like Promethean Spur. This exotic perk is Embers of Light, and it grants you Rift Energy on final blows with any solar weapon. It also grants you more Rift Energy on final blows while standing inside a rift. This is great on paper and can have some excellent synergy with a ton of solar exotic weapons like Vex Mythoclast, Skyburner's Oath, and even the newly buffed Eyes of Tomorrow exotic rocket launcher, but it all comes crumbling down when it can and will more than likely create a rift at a location when you don't really need it. We all know Warlocks love their rifts, so creating one that both heals you and empowers your weapon damage is great, but in the unlikely chance that you'll create one by getting a final blow while stood inside your rift and then accidentally creating one miles away from where you are in an area that no enemies are now because you've just deleted them is definitely a massive no from me. It can even create rifts from final blows on using your Daybreak super, but as you're always using your Well of Radiance, I bet you don't even know what that super does, and if you're one of the few people that do, you probably use it with the infinitely better Dawn Chorus anyway. On the plus side, the boots give you this nice fire effect, so that's cool I guess. What really isn't cool though is this next exotic. Destiny 2 Vanilla was so slow on release that Bungie released the Go Fast update in an effort to reinvigorate the game, and players have been going fast ever since. However, if you want to live in the past and experience the pain that was Destiny 2 Year 1, then the Icefall Mantle exotic gauntlets for your Titan are exactly what you need. These launched alongside the first Darkness subclass Stasis in Beyond Light and have always been bad. Glacial Guard replaces your Barricade class ability with your own personal overshield. This will have all good Titans glacial quaking in their boots already at the loss of their Barricade, but then it gets even worse. You might benefit from the extra 100 HP overshield as well as the 62.5% damage resistance, but you are slowed. This means that you're a sitting duck as you can't sprint, double jump or even slide whilst you are shielded, so it kinda makes the overshield a pointless necessity just to stay alive. Yes, you might apply 40 stacks of stasis slow to nearby targets on activating it, which is great especially when surrounded by a crowd of enemies, but the real kicker here is that you can't regain any class ability energy whilst you have the overshield active. You might as well pair this exotic with the Verglass Curve exotic stasis bow, not because of the subclass synergy it offers, but mainly because at least you'll be able to get a bit longer of a look at the stasis crystals that you create from it. Speaking about bows, the Oathkeeper's exotic gauntlets for hunters got a huge buff in Season of the Deep, but they still missed the target. Adamantine Brace will stand and deliver a huge damage buff to bows the longer that you hold the draw of them, going from a 38% damage boost at tier 1 all the way up to a massive 150% damage boost at tier 4. To get a tier 4 damage boost you have to charge up this bar right here, which is great and will buff the impact of all bows in the game. However, even though this exotic excels at boosting your damage output, what it doesn't do, and arguably the most disappointing thing about this, is that it doesn't buff the secondary effects on any of the bows. Anything from the explosive damage caused by Dragonfly on legendary bows, all the way to the damage over time poison tick damage from the exotic Le Monarch, or even the chain lightning from Trinity Ghoul's lightning rod, it won't buff these, which is the whole point about these exotic bows especially. Really, this was just an excuse to get my favourite bow out and use it again, but the Oathkeepers actively hamper the intrinsic damage boost from the hierarchy of needs, because to even get the boost from Oathkeepers you have to fire it slower, whereas this exotic bow wants you to fire it quickly to optimise your DPS. Oathkeepers, in one word, It's okay for exotics to be bad, but this next one might as well not exist. Apotheosis Veil is an exotic of all time. No, seriously, you could use this in Destiny 1 nearly 10 years ago. A lot of time has gone by and literally nothing has changed about this exotic. Insatiable actually sounds pretty good as a perk, whereby on casting your super you'll immediately regenerate health, melee, grenade and rift energy, and you'll increase the class ability recharge rate for any nearby allies. Yet most builds in Destiny 2 can do all of this but even better. You can spam Devour or Restoration for infinite health, there's a ton of melee builds, and some bracers will give you unlimited solar grenades. It's a below average exotic, and just like the Veil on Neomuna, which nobody knows anything about, I've literally never seen anybody use this exotic. Exotics in Destiny 2 always stand out from the crowd, whether there's glows, flare or ornate features that you rarely see on other weapons. The Mark 44 standard size definitely have the ornate factor sorted, but that's about it. This exotic grants you an overshield while sprinting at full health if you have the Shield Bash, Seismic Strike or Hammer Strike melee ability equipped. This is kinda good, but given that you can already get an overshield or even infinite health for that matter by other methods by setting up your subclass, you really don't need a useless exotic to do just that. It even tries to tempt you to use it by telling you that it'll give you some melee energy back on hitting a target with these abilities, but when it's only this much, I think I'll pass. There's not even too much that you compare with these outside of your subclass setups, but if I was going to try, it would at least be with the Monte Carlo to try get your melee ability back instantly, and I'd 100% be using it with the Deepstone Crypt styled ornament just so that I could forget that I had the standy sides equipped. Fortunately, there's nothing more really ridiculously good looking than the Blight Ranger. This has everything that you could ever wish for as a hunter. It's an exotic helmet, which means that you can put it on under your blacked out cloak. It has RGB synergy with a number of unique shaders, and it does so much damage that you'll never ever want to take it off. With Savathun returning soon, there's definitely 2 truths and 1 lie here, and I'm sure it's easy enough to figure out which one. I desperately want this exotic to be good, but it just isn't, and it makes me sad. Voltaic Mirror sounds awesome as a name for an exotic perk, and it even baits you with the massively increased damage on reflecting damage blocked by your Arcstaff's Whirlend Guard super in its description. But it really doesn't do anything near massive damage, and the only true benefit is the extra orbs of power it creates. Yeah, thanks for that. Don't bother trying to find an exotic weapon to pair with it, because there isn't one. If you want to see more of the worst builds in Destiny 2, then like the video if you liked the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Then if you do want to use a build that's actually good, then you'll want to check out this next video. Destiny 2 wasn't just killed, it was actually murdered by the state of the game, but finally our saviour, game director Joe Blackburn, has risen from the ashes to revive this dead game, so is it now time for a positive outlook on Destiny 2? Maybe it's ironic that this relic from the Curse of Osiris era returned in Season of the Deep, given the critical reception to a number of areas of the game in Season 21, mirroring that of the ill-fated make or break moment in Destiny's history. But even if it isn't, I reckon you've probably slept on it, and it has some perfect god rolls worth chasing no matter what part of the game you play. Positive outlook is a 450 RPM Void Energy Precision Frame auto rifle, and these actually sit in an excellent place in the sandbox. Its solar brother, the craftable Amit, was even one of the top picks in Trials of Osiris recently, and these auto rifles have tons of subclass synergy for PvE too. This is one of only a few Void auto rifles currently available, and drops like candy from the Vanguard Ops playlist or Nightfalls. However, you will be able to focus it using your hard-earned Vanguard engrams in Season 22, making your personal god roll even more easily obtainable. It has tons of unique perk combos with all your standard perks in the pool, such as Perpetual Motion, Golden Tricorn, Vorpal Weapon and Dragonfly, with plenty of choice for perk combos to suit literally any playstyle. It even comes with a choice of Tap the Trigger, Dynamic Sway Reduction or Zen Moment for PvP connoisseurs, pairing perfectly with Kill Clip for clicking heads. However, it's this combination right here that is going to make you volatile out of your mind in any number of Void builds. Ambitious Assassin is always top tier on weapons, and it's no different on positive outlook. This will overflow the magazine by up to a maximum of 150%, which can give you way over 60 plus rounds in the magazine consistently, especially if you're making use of the main perk that you need to be farming for. You'll always be getting a metric ton of multi-kills if you manage to bag one with destabilizing rounds. It is arguably the best Void perk in the game, and paired with the hard-hitting nature of this weapon, it's absolutely top tier. Final blows will apply volatile to targets within a 6.5 meter radius, and any target that becomes volatile will now do a few things. They'll stay volatile for about 10 seconds, and dealing sustained damage to a volatile target will trigger a volatile explosion, dealing damage to nearby targets, as well as exploding with Void energy on final blows, again spreading more volatile all over. Arrowhead Break along with Ricochet rounds are going to do bits for your barrel and magazine options to lessen the bounce intensity, whilst adding some extra range and stability on top. Paired with the ever faithful Falcons or even an upcoming rework to a certain Void Warlock helmet, this weapon will be a total workhorse in any of your favourite Void setups. Much like the incandescent Strident Whistle, I'm sure this will take me over a year to actually get, so please rub it in if you've already got this god roll positive outlook. It really is a weapon that I think you should be locking down because of its unique spot in the sandbox, and if you want a god tier exotic to pair with it, then you can't go wrong with this next build video. This exotic was dead on arrival, not because it launched alongside one of the strongest DLCs inside a secret exotic mission that turned out to be not so secret, but mainly for the fact that it was immediately put in a head-to-head battle with the Waveframe King, Forbearance. Waveframe grenade launchers have been mega popular ever since their introduction in Season of Dawn, with the formidable but now sunset Martyr's Retribution, and even the Season of the Hunt's Void Waveframe still gets a run out in people's loadouts, especially when it has synergy with a bunch of artifact mods. So why did the Dead Messenger fall off so hard when effectively it can do all of what the above can do but better, and have the potential to lean into multiple builds across a number of seasons in line with the meta picks for any seasonal artifact? Some will say it's because it's an exotic. Why should I waste my exotic slot on this when I need an exotic heavy for damage? But if we look at the top contenders for DPS in recent times, you'll find that the vast majority of DPS picks have been legendary options like linear fusion rifles and more recently rocket launchers, with most of the best options again being craftable. So it can't be that then, but why has it not been more used in a prominent double special meta where waveframes have dominated in all levels of content, from solo dungeons to raid speedruns and challenges? Double specials are even about to get nerfed, and with hand cannons getting a substantial buff, exotics like Dead Messenger could find a spot in your loadouts. Special energy weapons are going to become more prevalent too in future sandboxes, especially on top of the hand cannon buff. Kinetic weapons automatically do 10% more damage than their energy counterparts, and so this makes running an energy primary weapon practically redundant at a certain point. Things like Fatebringer, Submission and even Transfiguration are going to cover all ranges and generally cover off on champions too in most activities, and this makes the Dead Messenger one of my top picks for your loadouts in Season 22 and beyond. Obtained from completing the Vox Obscura exotic mission on Mars, this Cassoid Foundry weapon has the unique Trinary Vision exotic perk, which upgrades the standard single waveframe into a fan of 3 energy waves. This is great as it's going to damage targets in a wide area, which is automatically a larger radius than that of the coveted chain reaction on Forbearance. It's an absolute stat monster too, with maxed out blast radius, near on maxed out velocity, and an excellent reload and handling stat, which more than make up for the lack of ammo options to overflow the magazine like you can with its legendary counterparts. The fundamentals is where it gets really interesting, as you can switch between arc, solar or void damage types by holding the reload button. You can see which energy type is active by looking at the HUD, but it is also displayed on the weapon, which is even more prominent with the ornament equipped, giving off this sweet glow effect through the molten lava. This perk is much like Hardlight and Borealis, making it perfect for locked loadout activities which may have multiple singes active. This perk was also recently updated to offer some stat boost based on the selected damage type, with Solar granting increased reload speed and airborne effectiveness, Arc improving handling and velocity, and Void improving stability for some anti-flinch reduction and aim assist. But the fundamentals is what sets it up to shine in multiple sandboxes. Even this season you would have been able to take advantage of 2 sets of artifact mods to massively improve this exotic when used in its Arc or Void damage types. The Arc setup is especially potent, and in my opinion it does whatever Forbearance does but a million times better due to the larger effective radius Dead Messenger offers out of the gate, triggering the shock and awe jolting explosions to more enemies. Even the Void setup with the Supernova perk would easily trigger the weakening burst, and with a certain Jafalcon's build you've also got unlimited volatile rounds on tap regardless of the seasonal artifact. With a solar themed seasonal artifact right around the corner, I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a standout pick for applying Scorch or causing ignitions depending on what mods we're likely to see. All of these options can then combine to keep you amplified in any Arc subclass, or keep Devour running with a Void setup, and even the insanely powerful combo of Radiance damage boost with infinite health with restoration in a solar subclass build. All of this is then topped off by the Catalyst, which you can get by beating the master version of the exotic mission, which will grant you the Turnabout perk. Breaking any elemental shield is going to give you a 30 HP overshield for 10 seconds, which is nothing to be sniffed at and makes for some endgame build crafting synergy. Chucking a bunch of Cypher mods, some matching weapon surge mods, and even some loader or dexterity mods for good measure, and I think you'll be wondering why it took you so long to give Dead Messenger Avenger a second chance. Now that you've dusted it off, check out these top tier hand cannons which will get you day 1 raid race ready for next season. Optimal DPS is always a touchy subject because one person's wet dream can be another person's nightmare. Fortunately, the Destiny 2 sandbox is varied, offering tons of players anything from entry level options all the way up to the meta defining Sweat Lord pick. Now, rocket launchers are generally the order of the day, and people will tell you that you're actively throwing if you're not hot swapping Izanagi's Burden or Witherhoard with a bait and switch Cold Comfort or Apex Predator. Technically they'd be right, but unless you're speedrunning or absolutely one phase in a raid boss with a crack team of a day 1 world champions, the true answer is that consistency is key, and if you end up whiffing shots, f***ing up a reload or switching to the wrong weapon at the wrong time, then you might as well throw that fully crafted Apex into the bin and go cry about how many hours you wasted farming for that god roll in the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon. Bipod is absolutely cheeks, but in season 22 it's getting a sweet little buff, essentially buffing the damage of the perk by 15%. This is single-handedly going to bring an extreme ease of use and accessibility factor for all types of players to boss DPS phases, and will essentially allow you to be on par with the best out there. I did the testing, and utilising a Well of Radiance alongside a few solar weapon surge mods, the difference between damage was negligible to be honest, with a bait and switch Apex getting just over 1.3 million and Bipod was hitting about 1.2 million. The difference here though was I barely got through my heavy ammo on bait and switch, whereas with Bipod I smashed through the full set of reserves without even thinking about it. With a full set of solar reserve mods, Bipod allows you to get a maximum of 14 rockets on the Apex Predator. You can then pair this with Reconstruction, which can and will get you 4 rounds in a magazine consistently. This makes it perfect for high burst damage, as you don't need to worry about hot swapping or triggering the optimal bait and switch perk. Remember, Apex Predator is even craftable, meaning once you've obtained the patterns from the last wish raid, you can change the perks over as often as you want. I've gone all in and crafted the enhanced perk versions of both Bipod and Reconstruction, which increase the benefit of both perks, and from next season, Bipod will only reduce the damage output by 25%, not the current 40%. Cold Comfort though is the other rocket that can roll with Bipod, which you can farm for from the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon. Ideally, you'll want to get it with Envious Assassin, which is also getting a nice buff to its activation requirements next season too. This combo can often get you 5 rockets in the magazine, again massively increasing your burst damage potential. Regardless of which rocket you decide to farm for, you can fire and forget your Witherhoard for starters, then go to Pound Town with your Bipod rockets, with reloads getting you 2 in the mag as standard. All of this testing doesn't even factor in the 15% damage buff for season 22, or the fact that you can run this god rolled perk on literally any other subclass if you don't need to be the Well of Radiance. Try it with the Broodweaver's Threadlings, Star Eater's Blade Barrage, a Nighthawk Golden Gun, or even a Thunder Crash Titan, alongside any standard debuff used in a fire team environment, and your day 1 raid team will be wondering what the hell is going on over there, as you just unload a metric ton of rockets in the boss's face. Don't forget you can even factor in other special DPS options like Merciless or Cloud Strike, and if you want an endgame ready strand boss damage build to chuck your new Bipod rocket in, then you need to check out this video next. The Braytech Osprey is finally making its long-awaited return to Destiny 2, but is it about to launch itself into the meta? As far as rockets go, it's got some super strong perk combos that will make this a standout endgame option, especially with some S-tier endgame builds and void-based artifact mods this season. It's also going to drop with an Adept version straight out of the gate, as Grandmasters are already here, so this could make it a dominant pick, especially with it being the only Adept high-impact rocket currently available. It drops from completions of the Nightfall this week, and you'll need to tackle the Grandmaster Nightfalls for the Adept one. It's a void energy high impact frame, which is in the middle of the road in terms of damage potential. However, it does have the most unique set of perks we've ever seen on a rocket launcher, including all your standard perks in the pool like auto loading holster, field prep, lasting impression and frenzy. It even comes with the quite frankly bonkers combo of Envious Assassin with Bipod, which not only boosts your base magazine size to 2 rockets, but it can and will get you a massive 5 rockets in the mag consistently to shoot off back to back, albeit with 40% less damage output. Bipod is getting a rework though in a future season, so it might be worth keeping one for its moment in the sun. However, this combination right here is what you should be going for, as it has excellent mod synergy from the seasonal artifact out of the box, and it all makes this hands down one of the best rockets in Destiny 2. At a base level, this combo is going to give you an excellent damage boost for just using it, as well as dealing excellent area effect and damage over time, which is something you just don't see on legendary rockets. rockets. Cluster bombs is in the third column, which is super rare on rocket launchers, and this will boost your damage output by 23% if all clusters hit the target. But the beauty with it here is that it can essentially extend the damaging blast radius of your rocket launcher and trigger volatile explosions from the destabilizing rounds perk. This is the first time we've ever seen destabilizing rounds on a rocket launcher, and I know that heavies aren't everyone's favourite for ad clear, but when you've got excellent special weapon options, a high-end yellow bar destroying rocket launcher won't go amiss. Plus, if you're killing trash ads near a boss, you're going to make them volatile, and ultimately this will add a serious melt factor to that boss, especially if you're stacking any endgame damage boosts. Impact casing is going to buff the damage caused by direct hits, and remember you can put on the Adept Big 1 spec mod on the Adept version to push out its damage potential. This is perfect for a double special loadout or even the upcoming hand cannon meta, so if you and your fire team want to melt the Nightfall boss this week whilst farming for one, then you'll need to check out this next build video. I don't even know what the this actually is, but I absolutely love it, and Warlocks are now going to be divinity bitches until the end of time. The newest Warlock exotic helmet in the Season of the Deep is a whole damn thing, and I'm here for it. Available from Legend or Master Lost sectors when it's exotic helmet day, just like it was with the K1 crew quarters on the moon at the time of writing this video. You might have already seen videos doing the rounds about infinite heavy ammo, and although these aren't technically wrong, there's one absolutely glaringly obvious thing about this exotic that is going totally under everyone's radar because of it. Cenotaph's mask has the high priority exotic perk, which massively boosts the already cracked viability of trace rifles in all manner of content. Yes, it is really good at doing what it's meant to in general play and even endgame content, giving so-called infinite heavy to allies. By simply damaging a mini boss, champion, boss or vehicle with a trace rifle, you will mark that target for 10 seconds. Only one target can be marked at any one time, and on defeating that target you'll spawn a heavy ammo brick for your allies, and arguably more important, an actual special ammo brick for you to top up your trace rifle of choice. Getting ammo back might just seem like a gimmick, but it's great on exotics, with Divinity and Cold Heart coming to mind especially this season, combined with the Arc Surge synergy in most activities, and even the Overload trace rifle mod for pesky teleporting champions. It is meant to require a trace rifle matching your subclass type to activate this ability for ammo, but it is currently bugged, so any trace rifle is a go at the moment. However, the true strength and standout feature of this exotic is this. As running a double special weapon loadout is still 100% more viable to consistently drop heavy ammo for you on defeating literally any enemy, whether that's red bars or whatever, it's infinitely going to be more consistent than just marking a champion or boss as a priority target every so often for keeping heavy ammo topped up using this exotic, regardless of being in a fire team or running solo. And so that brings us on to the true power of this exotic, which is essentially the love child of auto-loading holster and reconstruction. Cenotaph's mask will auto-reload 4% of the magazine of any trace rifle from reserves every 0.7 seconds. This works while stood and also whilst you're blasting the shit out of any enemy. It's excellent with Divinity due to its large magazine size, meaning Warlocks in a well are staying as Divinity bitches forever with near infinite uptime of the 15% Divinity bubbles. But arguably the better synergy comes from not just one, not just two, but three already endgame S tier perks. These two perks already overflow the magazine of Acacia's Dejection by double the magazine size, with arguably rewind rounds being the better choice, and then combined with target lock you're going to massively extend and sustain that deeper high-end boss burning damage for longer, which only a ×5 stack offers, and remember you can only achieve the maximum stacks of this when you've maintained damage on a single target for 110% of the base magazine size. This means get your butts into the raid, but more importantly get them towards this next video to find out the true power of why you need to get your sweaty mitts on this endgame legendary trace rifle. The new secret exotic in Season of the Deep is here, and this is your full guide on how to get it. First, you'll need to get the 3 exotic fish, one from Savathûn's Throne World, one from Nessus, and one from the EDZ. It's currently double catch rate and increased activity on all 3 locations, so catching them shouldn't take too long. Next, deposit the exotic fish in the aquarium at Helm to obtain the 3 broken blades. These broken blades will allow you to interact with the 3 hive statues found in the deep dive activity. There's one during the water section at the start of the deep dive activity, located here to the left before you drop down through the opening section. The second statue is after you successfully complete the first encounter and is located in this room to the left up here. The third and final one is found between the next water section and is on the left of this cliff after you stop the giant fan and before you drop down to the next section. Then all you need to do is complete the second encounter and there will be a door that opens to your right. Each member of your fire team will then need to interact with one of the statues in there and then head into the first area of this exotic mission. After you jump up through the water section, you get a taster of the main mechanic here, which is basically destroy the knights to get the deathly sharp buff. This stacks up to 3 times and will allow you to do the maximum amount of damage on the bosses in this one. Quickly defeat the first mini boss and move into the pyramid. Here you'll start the 10-minute timer and you'll need to hit the little pyramids to open the side rooms to access the knights to get the deathly sharp buff. Use everything you've got because time is precious, plus there's a rally flag immediately afterwards. This is the main encounter and you'll need to hunt around this labyrinth to defeat knights to get the buff and then start a DPS phase on the boss. This is the loadout I used for reference, and you'll notice I made use of the harmonic resonance damage boost, which deals more damage to tormentors with a whole set of Root of Nightmares raid weapons. Double special builds are a thing of the past, because why use 2 weapons when just one can do all of their jobs but better? With a perfected build giving you infinite ability uptime, huge endgame ad clear potential and top tier damage output. It's been a while since I've done a Warlock build, and that's because once I start to do stuff like this, I struggle to take these exotic combos off. But this exotic is still cracked, possibly even more so this season thanks to some game changing buffs and new subclass fragments. Death Throw starts this one all off, as it'll grant you a huge increase to your grenade recharge rate at a 5 times stack. This is going to be super easy to keep maxed out in this build, and because you'll have so many grenades, there's multiple uses for them. The Firebolt grenade isn't the strongest, but it's the most versatile for this one, as you can buff its damage output by up to 100%, but you can also increase its radius through the Touch of Flame aspect. The main benefit though for running Firebolts is that it has the lowest base cooldown at just over 1 minute, so this combined with Death Throws and an average discipline stat will rapidly recharge your grenade ability. And this then sets you up for the next part of this build, meaning you'll be able to either chuck them willy-nilly or consume them to get heat rises going. Being airborne isn't always effective, but when you're roaming it like a rocket ship, the only sitting ducks are the ones that you're constantly destroying. Oh look, a heavy weapon for ad clear. But seriously, it does everything. It's the Swiss Army knife of exotics in Destiny 2 at this point. This is all thanks to a huge game changing buff with the start of Season 21. Simply killing 4 targets will automatically refund 1 ammo to your reserves, meaning as long as there's enemies to defeat, this essentially has infinite heavy ammo, something which you only normally see in the Days of Eternity activity. But this rocket launcher is so much more than that, as this sets it up for the massive 50% damage boost from adaptive ordnance. This will absolutely melt targets and do huge chunks of damage to mini bosses, champions and bosses alike, especially when combined with Radiant's 25% damage boost and Solar Weapon Surge's 22% stacking buffs. Due to the distances you play at with this setup, the Celestial Fire melee ability paired with the Ember of Torches will be the best to get Radiant consistently, with Airborne Final Blows granting 20% melee energy at a minimum when Heat Rises is active. Now you can become unkillable too here by adding Restoration into the mix. The Ember of Tempering will boost your recovery stat, meaning your class ability of choice will recharge rapidly, but more importantly, it will allow Eyes of Tomorrow to create fire sprites. Collecting these fire sprites grants grenade energy as standard, but with the Ember of Mercy, you'll also get the constant healing from Restoration. The Ember of Empyrean can then keep both this and Radiant topped up with more final blows from solar weapons or abilities. Harmonic Siphon, Loader and Dexterity mods along with Time Dilation will round out this one, and you'll now be scratching your own eyes as you dust off this exotic, wondering why you didn't try this sooner. Use the QR code or the link below to copy this quick 3-minute build, then if you want the perfect energy weapon to pair with it next season, find out why you need this. It's been a long time coming, but finally it's time to go balls deep on Titan once again with Deputy Commander Sloan in Season of the Deep. Centrifuse is the newest exotic, and combined with this newly updated sandbox, new exotic armor changes and refreshed top tier seasonal mods, this new Season 21 exotic build will electrify everything. You can get yours right now from the Season Pass, plus you can also grab the catalyst for it from Banshee in the Tower. It definitely lives up to the gone fishing theme with its rustic look, like it's been found on an abandoned shipwreck. It's the first ever true arc energy auto rifle and fires at 450 RPM, putting it in the precision frame archetype. type. Straight out of the box it has some perfect arc subclass synergy which you can double down on to make it even more potent thanks to its unique overcharge capacitor perk. This one's a weird one because basically doing lots of things and stuff will build up an electrostatic charge, boosting its range and reload speed. However, once you do build up enough charge, final blows will cause an arc explosion and at maximum charge it'll blind nearby targets. It also comes with regenerative motion which will gradually reload the weapon while sprinting. Ideally you don't want to manually reload this weapon as it will automatically lose all of its stacks of overcharge, so running and gunning is the name of the game with this exotic. Centrifuse is going to be a popular contender for your loadouts this season, particularly in the Deep, which is the new seasonal activity, not to mention the newest dungeon, plus you can easily increase its potency even further with a bunch of new top tier armor charge mods. Auto rifle users will instantly gravitate towards the Action War rigs for infinite uptime, and rightly so. However, if you are going to build into it, I definitely look at a unique and infinite damage boosting build, and nobody does this better than your Stormcaller Warlock. This exotic has great synergy with the Mantle of Battle Harmony, which has seen a rework to grant a now increased 25% weapon damage boost when your super is full. And although this won't stack with arc weapon surge mods anymore, it will now actually stack with the 20% from your Empowering Rift, plus it got a duration boost from 6 to now 10 seconds, making it even easier to keep the damage bonus ticking along. It actually also has excellent synergy with the newest arc fragments, the Sparks of Haste and Instinct, for some damage resistance whilst moving and a jolting factor for some squeaky bum time moments. You're also going to be creating a production line of Orbs of Power and arc traces for days with the Spark of Amplitude and Electrostatic Mind, and it's going to be incredibly potent in this excellent jolting build that I've set up for you. Keep an eye on the seasonal artifact mods as you unlock them too, especially the Mighty Shock and Awe. I'll leave the Destiny Item Manager build link below, and now that you're ready to become the God of Thunder, make sure you're day 1 solo dungeon ready by watching this next video. What a wonderful time to be a Destiny 2 player. From faultless server stability and incredible jaw-dropping updates every day, to exotics dropping like candy from fishing and microtransactions being banished forever. We can always dream, but there was a time when a brand new Strand linear fusion rifle would have had everybody creaming over it like it was the second coming of the Reed Regret, but unfortunately this isn't the Witch Queen meta and it doesn't look like a rocket. Acquired from what is essentially Bungie's forgotten love child, Destiny 2 the game, the Laser Painter can be described as simply a pinnacle chase weapon you should be trying to nail down. This is literally for no other reason than it's currently the only Strand linear fusion rifle in the game, giving it a unique position in the sandbox as it can benefit from unraveling rounds, any of the persistent Strand weapon surge boosts from endgame content, and it can even make use of the Thread of Isolation to apply sever to targets easily due to its precision nature as a linear fusion and its ability to persistently land crits. It drops from Gambit of all things, but from next season you'll be able to focus it at the Drifter in the tower for a better chance at a decent one. It has all your standard perks in the pool such as auto loading holster, demolitionist, high impact reserves and box breathing, with plenty of choice of perk combos to suit literally any playstyle. However, it's this combination right here that is going to get you to fall in love with Strand all over again. Clown Cartridge is always top tier on weapons and it's no different on the Laser Painter. This will randomly overflow the magazine of your weapon by 10 to 50%, ultimately granting you up to the maximum of 9 shots in total with either ionized or extended battery. Now, with linears not being mega popular for endgame boss DPS at the minute, it'll still pack a punch for endgame single target precision damage with 9 rounds, and this will also give you more chance to proc the still incredibly strong Vice Stinger origin trait to partially reload the magazine too, giving you even more damage potential. As we're priming the painter to be more often than not endgame high level yellow bar champion or mini boss ready, Hatchling really is the standout pick. It comes on the majority of Strand weapons, but it has great synergy with this new linear fusion. Precision final blows will spawn a Threadling at the enemy location, which will then go on to attack other enemies nearby. This Threadling will then apply the Unravel debuff to that enemy, which will then send out Strand threads on causing further damage to it and causing damage over time to nearby targets. This makes it perfect for endgame content, especially Grandmasters, where you can benefit from surges or overcharged weapons and are generally staying back to pick off stronger enemies more often. often. Also, Threadlings are going to be getting a buff soon, so they will likely be causing more damage, or you'll be spawning more of them from perks like Hatchling, even more so with the Thread of Rebirth. It really is a weapon that I think you should be locking down because of its unique spot in the sandbox, but if Gambit isn't your thing, make it a little less painful by running this fun build that you can try out from watching this build video next. The loaded question fusion rifle finally makes its long awaited return to Destiny 2 after literally nobody asked for it. But here it is, and as far as fusions go, it's got some super strong perk combos that will make this a standout endgame option, especially with the bunch of arc based artifact mods this season. It's also going to drop with an Adept version straight out of the gate, as GMs are already here, so this could make it a dominant pick, especially in the Crucible, with it being one of only 2 Adept high impact fusions currently available. It drops from completions of the Nightfall this week, and you'll need to tackle the Grandmaster Nightfalls for the Adept one. It's an arc energy high impact frame with a 960 charge time, and it has all your standard perks in the pool like Demolitionist, auto loading holster, frenzy, and even the new controlled burst, which offers an extra 20% damage for your next shot on landing all 5 bolts in a burst. It even comes with firmly planted an Eye of the Storm for the PvP enthusiast, which will allow you to compete with some crazy long distance Voops that I'm sure Lego LaFlash will be farming for. However, this combination right here is what you should be going for, as it has some excellent mod synergy from the seasonal artifact out of the box, and it all makes this hands down one of the best fusions in Destiny 2. At a base level, this is going to give you an excellent damage boost for just using the weapon, as well as dealing excellent area effect damage, which is just something you don't see on all legendary weapons. Overflow isn't anything super special, but on the loaded question it's naturally going to increase the overall damage output. Overflow activates even when stowed and will overflow the magazine by 200% of its normal capacity from reserves when collecting special or heavy ammo. With enhanced battery you're going to get 12 shots, and the beauty of this means that every single one of the overflowed shots will trigger Reservoir Burst. This is the OG loaded question perk from its Black Armory Pinnacle days, so it's a no-brainer as to why it's the go-to pick on the reprised version. If the magazine is at or above the maximum capacity, you'll instantly deal 25% extra damage, and you'll also cause enemies to explode on final blows when Reservoir Burst is active. Perfect for a double special loadout or even the upcoming hand cannon meta, so if you and your fire team want to melt the Nightfall boss this week whilst farming for one, then you'll need to check out this build video next. There's currently a whopping 46 non-sunset legendary hand cannons available in Destiny 2. These range from the mundane and useless to the outright god tier. Only 7 of these are available for you to craft, however crafting one will ultimately make it a ton easier to tie down your very own personal god roll. They're also getting a huge buff to the damage they dish out on both red and orange bar enemies at the start of season 22. But you don't need to waste your time trying to craft each and every one, so let's find out which ones you really need to get. The Ostringer, originally from Season of Opulence and the beloved Menagerie Activity, it was later reissued in the Season of the Haunted and subsequently made available to craft at the cost of 5 red border patterns. This is a kinetic adaptive frame 140 RPM hand cannon, and so straight out of the gate it's going to do 10% more damage than any of its energy counterparts, immediately making it more potent when combined with the upcoming buff. This has always been seen as a go-to PvP hand cannon with excellent perk combos that is perfect for dueling other guardians like Eye of the Storm or Opening Shot. However, there's an OG perk combo that's still perfect for slaying out against minions of the darkness. Outlaw and Rampage doesn't see too much fanfare these days, as Bungie has moved away from the straight up easy to activate damage perks in favour of more subclass orientated setups, but this can and will still do bits. Maxing out at a 33% damage boost at a 3-time stack of Rampage, it will allow you to tear through waves of adds, one-shotting red bars and dealing huge damage to mages. Outlaw will allow you to keep this going, as it essentially maxes out your reload speed stat for 6 seconds. Ostringer is renowned for its ease of use in combat thanks to its high aim assist and excellent stat package, and it's even been proven that it'll be way easier for you to click heads with it by hitting that subscribe button. If you don't already have this, you can only currently obtain it from the gunsmith in the tower or Xur when they have it in their stock, and I've definitely seen it a couple of times recently. If you want to craft the enhanced perks, then you'll need 5 red border patterns, and so the deep sight harmonizers from the season pass will be your friends here if you're still a few patterns short. score. If you want the enhanced versions of these perks, you'll need to get to level 15 for Outlaw and only level 14 for Rampage, which will increase the buff durations for each perk by 1 second and 0.5 seconds respectively. Zyula's Bane is a hand cannon of all time, and it's probably one that you've totally forgotten about. This iconic D1 hand cannon from the Kingsfall raid was reprised for the returning version of that raid in Destiny 2, and it's come on leaps and bounds from what was essentially one of the most dog water weapons in Destiny 1. It's a solar adaptive frame 140 RPM hand cannon, and although it does less damage than its kinetic counterparts as previously stated, it does instead have some awesome solar 3.0 subclass synergy. Incandescent is where it's at on this, and it's one of only 2 hand cannons that can currently roll with it. Final blows apply a damage over time burning scorch effect to targets within a 4 meter radius. This starts from 30 stacks at a base level and increases to 40 with the Ember of Ashes equipped on your solar subclass, and you can boost that even further by getting the enhanced version, granting you up to 45 scorch stacks. You only need 100 stacks to trigger an ignition, which will explode that enemy and deal huge damage to nearby enemies too. It clearly is great for solar 3.0 builds, but to be honest, I think you can do one better on this. Firefly is easily my favourite pick, as it counteracts the somewhat lacklustre stat package compared to the other top tier hand cannons. It'll keep you in the fight for longer due to the intrinsic reload speed boost you get from final blows with precision shots. You'll find that with Incandescent the reload is painful, something which Zyula's Bane was renowned for in Destiny 1, so Firefly amps this up big time. It also deals area effect splash damage to nearby targets, making ad cleanup just as potent as it would with Incandescent. Paired with explosive payload in the third column, you'll have little to no damage fall off, and when you get the run of over origin trait active, you'll also overflow the magazine. This one's easily farmable from the free to play Kingsfall raid, with it dropping from the Golgoroth and Oryx encounters, and you can craft it to get the enhanced perks by getting 5 red border patterns for it. The enhanced perks for explosive payload and Firefly grant reload speed increases and are definitely worth leveling this up to level 17. I even did it twice. Lots of people may scoff at this next one given the popularity of the recent Last Wish raid reworks, but the Posterity rework, which came only a few seasons back, is absolutely top tier and potentially the best hand cannon on this list. This Deepstone Crypt raid Arc Energy precision frame 180 RPM hand cannon has everything going for it. First off, it's super easy to use, especially with the combination of the perfect vertical recoil direction, excellent stability out of the gate, and the full auto setting making mowing through waves of enemies a piece of cake. But it's the perk pool that is absolutely worth diving into this Beyond Light era raid to try tie down this god roll, which is absolutely slept on. Let's not beat around the bush because we're all here for Vault Shot, and as it stands it is the only arc weapon that can get this endgame perk in the third column. It is an immense perk and will clear out waves of ads in an instant. By reloading after a kill, you'll be granted Vault Shot, which will apply jolt to the next target you hit with Posterity. Continuous damage will apply both a damage over time lightning burst effect and an area effect chain lightning damage to nearby combatants. This jolt damage even scales upwards with weapon damage buffs, global debuffs and combatant rank modifiers, and will technically be even higher next season with the hand cannon buffs. Fortunately, Posterity has tons of damage boosting perks available in the final column, but there's none more potent to combine with Vault Shot than Frenzy. This grants a 15% damage increase as well as massively boosting the handling and reload speed of the weapon. It basically turns the sluggish 180 archetype into a rapid fire monster, able to dish out jolting aftershocks all the time, and on top of that it'll grant you a small amount of ability energy per hit from the Bray Inheritance origin trait, and yes, even Vault Shot's chain lightning counts towards this. You can only get this legendary hand cannon from the Descent encounter in the Deepstone Crypt raid, but once you've got one, you can farm it from the raid cache at the end of the raid using the Spoils of Conquest. The enhanced versions will boost the duration of these perks, which isn't obviously required. If you're going to show off your love for Posterity, then you might as well level it up once you get the 5 red border patterns. Yet all of these pale in comparison to what is easily the best legendary hand cannon ever seen in Destiny 2. The Fatebringer Time Lost isn't craftable, but nothing can hold a candle to it. It's an absolute stat monster and is clearly the benchmark for all other hand cannons since its introduction. It's a 140 RPM adaptive frame hand cannon, and so much like Ostringer, it'll instantly dish out 10% more damage than any energy hand cannon. But unlike Ostringer, it has the perfect perk combos to make taking this into endgame content a breeze, and that's before the upcoming buff. With perks like Rewind Rounds, Fresh, Adrenaline Junkie, Firefly and Kill Clip, it's hard to even find a bad roll to be honest, but if you want the creme de la creme, you'll need to get one with Explosive Payload and Frenzy. Fortunately, the time lost version automatically drops with Explosive Payload and Firefly in the final 2 columns, so hunting for a Frenzy version shouldn't be too difficult, and this is why I've recommended the time lost version. Not only that, but you can then apply the Adept Big One spec mod, which does more damage to mages, mini bosses and bosses, and packs a tremendous punch when stacked with the always on Frenzy once you get it rolling. The Fatebringer Time Lost can be obtained from the master version of the Vault of Glass raid, and once it is the featured raid, I highly recommend farming the Templar boss encounter. This master version is no match for the immense boss melting builds available these days, making this reprised Destiny 1 raid classic icon a must have hand cannon. Now that you're all ready for the hand cannon meta, get your best ad clearing builds ready too by watching this video next. We're having a Stasis Waveframe wet dream over here, because after what seems like years of asking, we've got 2 of these in just a matter of weeks. The Chud isn't very good to be honest, but it's a totally different story for the new Pacific Epitaph. Acquired from what is essentially Oryx's grave in the new Ghosts of the Deep dungeon, and to put it simply, it is a pinnacle chase weapon that you should be trying to nail down. It drops from completions of the first encounter and the final boss encounter in the newest Destiny 2 dungeon, and as like any dungeon, the encounters are farmable even after the first completion on any given week. It's the first ever breach loaded Stasis Waveframe grenade launcher in the kinetic slot, and it arguably has one of the coolest looking Waveframe animations too, plus it has all your standard perks in the pool such as Unrelenting, Demolitionist, Harmony and Adrenaline Junkie, with even never before seen on a Waveframe with Kill Clip, and even the new Collective Action perk for excellent damage boosting potential. However, it's this combination right here that is going to get you to finally part ways with Forbearance, because this makes it arguably the best Waveframe in Destiny 2. Redirection was the previously raid only perk for the Deepstone Crypt weapons from Beyond Light, so the fact that it's now on this dungeon grenade launcher makes it a standout from the crowd for a reason. It's arguably a slept on perk even after all this time. You build stacks of redirection by hitting red bar enemies, which goes up to a maximum of 20 stacks. It consumes 1 stack per hit on yellow bars at 5 stacks or less, granting you a 20% damage boost, but at 6 stacks or above, it'll grant you a whopping 100% damage boost. In a grenade launcher, this is absolutely nuts, especially as Waveframes are generally used for clearing out groups of adds, so you'll be constantly building up stacks of redirection. If you hit a yellow bar enemy within a group of adds from that single shot, you're going to get that 20% boost at a base level, or even better, the face melting 100% damage boost all contained in just one single shot. And then to get you back in the action quicker whilst in the action, Perpetual Motion is going to be my pick due to the boosted reload speed it can offer. However, the base reload isn't too shabby anyway, so Lead from Gold could be a winner here, especially in any double special loadout using a trace rifle or something in the energy slot. The new Restoration Ritual origin trait on these dungeon weapons will reload the weapon on reviving allies or defeating combatants with finishers, and it even readies an emergency reload for the next time this weapon runs out of ammo. It really is that good, and so if you want the best new Waveframe in Destiny 2, get into the new dungeon and loot Oryx's locker. Then if you want a top build that will carry you through your dungeon experience, this one is it.